Hello and welcome back to this week's analysis. So first of all, we want to look at the fundamentals we have lined up for next week. Now, the biggest news we have for next week is on Friday, which is on the US dollar, the non-farm payrolls. So that's one of the biggest news events in the market. So a lot of volatility should be expected on Friday. But for the best part of next week, we're going to be having major news events on the US dollar. As you can see, from Monday, we have a red folder US dollar news event. Then on Tuesday, we have a red folder news event on the US dollar. On Wednesday, red folder news events on the US dollar. Thursday, red folder news events on the US dollar. And then on Friday, which is the big one. So now that we've seen what is happening on the fundamental aspect for next week, we already know that we should be expecting lots of volatility in the market. So now going to technicals, we are going to be kicking things off for this week with BTC. All right, BTC is clearly in an uptrend, right? Creating new higher highs and higher lows. Right now, we are trading above the previous all-time highs on the monthly time frame, because presently we are on the monthly time frame. So you can see the price is currently at the 70,000 region on the monthly time frame if you look right here. But let's go to the weekly time frame and see how we closed for last week. So last week, you can see after price broke out of that previous higher high, if you look left, so price broke out of it, came back for a retest, and for this week we look set to be closing with a bullish engulfing candle. So price is going to continue pushing higher. On the daily time frame, this is what price looks like. Then we are going to go to the 1 hour time frame. Let's go to the 1 hour time frame. So if you trade BTC, this is what I will be looking at for next week on BTC. Currently, I'm holding BTC. I got into BTC at 50,000 and currently I'm around 20% up, as you can see based on the screenshot on your screen right here. But if you are not already in this trade and you want to jump in on BTC, instead of buying blindly, I would like to wait for price to come to this lower trend line below here. So I'll connect from this area that I can easily spot here. Then I'll connect this second touch here, then project this trend line into the future and put it here. All right, so what that basically means is I'd like to see price play around as it is doing right now until we come back into this pink zone below here and tap into this trend line before we continue higher. So my next target, if this play out, right, because there are no guarantees, price may just continue pushing higher. All right, but I'd like to see price come into this pink zone and into the third touch of this trend line, because obviously you can see that we've had two touches previously, here being 1, 2. So I'm anticipating a third touch before we take off to the upside into the 73,000 region. All right, so that's my next target on BTC. So I'd like to see price pull back into this pink zone and into the trend line before I can add to my position and trade into this pink zone above, which once again is 73,616 region. All right, so that's my target. Then if we break above that, of course, we are going to continue trading higher. But short term, that is my target. So that is what I can see on BTC going into next week. So the second on my list for this week is US oil. So I'll start from the monthly time frame. Let's build a thesis from the monthly time frame perspective. So let me zoom in so that we can see this chart. We can obviously see that for the past 3 months, which is January, February, and now March, we've seen bullish price action. This is the monthly time frame, so each of these candlesticks represent 1 month of price action. All right, so this candlestick right here is January, then the next one is February, and this current one here is for the month of March. Well, we are starting a new month next week, Monday, so that will be April. So this is how we are obviously going to be closing for the month of March. So I'm expecting further bullish move to the upside. Now I'll go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, you'll discover that even though price created a new, where's my brush to, even though price created a new lower high here, I mean from the bottom to the top, well, when price fell back below, we failed to create a new lower low, breaking below this previous low around here. So with that, since we failed to create a new lower low here, and price rallied all the way to the upside, and we are now breaking out of this region here, I'll be expecting price to continue higher here until we come into the 94.86 region, which is around here. All right, price is currently here. I want to see price come here, which aligns with here. I hope that makes sense. So let's go to the daily time frame and see things clearly. So based on the daily time frame, my next target is around here, which is 89.06 per barrel on the US oil. So let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have this zone here that price has created for us. We see this particular pink zone has been tested multiple times here as 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I mean, each time price came into that pink zone, here being first, we saw a massive rejection to the downside. The second time, we saw a rejection to the downside. The third time when price broke above it, we saw another rejection to the upside. We came back there, we saw another rejection. We came back there, and now we can obviously see another rejection. So that makes the pink zone a very interesting area, right? As you can see. Now, at that zone, recently price just created a double bottom here being 1 and 2. Then price went on to create a new high, breaking above this previous high here. So we are obviously in a bullish trend. All right. So what will I be expecting to see next week? I'd like to see price come back into this region here. All right, which is around the 82.52 and the 82.06 region. So I'd like to see a pullback, something like this, a pullback into here. Then if I see an entry opportunity, because I'm not going to be executing blindly, like, right? Because I like to see specific entry reasons, because yeah, I could be right expecting price to come here and price will fail to respect that zone. So I need to be patient, wait for my execution criteria to be met before I jump into the trade. So if I can get that entry, then I'm going to be trading to this green zone here, which is 89.06 region. So this is what I'd like to see going into next week on the US dollar. But overall on the US dollar, I am bullish. Now let's go to DXY. Now last week price was trading around here, if I'm correct. Yeah, price was trading around this region here. Yeah, price was trading around here, and I called our attention to the fact that I'll be expecting a pullback into this green region here before we now rally all the way to this upside here, which is 104.967. And that's exactly what price did. Price pulled back into that zone, and now we are pointing upward. If you doubt me, see for yourself. However, going into next week, I am still bullish on the dollar index. I would like to see a pullback into the 104.118 area before price continues higher. So welcome back, guys. You can see how price pulled back into that region, and we are now pushing higher. We've obviously created a new higher high around this region. So whatever we may be seeing now is just a pullback. All right, so let me just draw a zone around the new pullback I have. So I'll just do this and this. All right, so going into next week, I'll be expecting price to continue pushing higher, at least until we come into this green region here, which once again is 104.967. So overall on the dollar index, I am bullish. So let's go to Euro USD. So Euro USD, of course, is positively correlated with the dollar index, but on the euro dollar, price was trading around here last week, right? And I called your attention to the fact that I would like to see price pull back into this gray area before we collapse. Now, if you doubt me, see for yourself. However, going into next week, I would like to see a buy to sell scenario. So an initial pullback into between this gray zone. So I would like to see a pullback into within this zone. Stop loss has to be above it, right? If we can get a confirmation from that zone, then before price gathers momentum to push down to this side. Welcome back, guys. So you can see how price pulled back into that area. We got a massive rejection and we continued lower, as you can see. So which means our analysis was on point. All right, now going into next week, what do we expect? Now if I go back to the daily time frame on this one, the daily time frame closed with this dodgy candle. Now this gives me cause for worry. All right, of course I would like to see price continue lower until we come into the 1.07084 region, but with this candlestick that closed at this area, the price has tested multiple times, looking left here being 1, 2, and now price is trading around that area for the third touch, and now we are seeing this dodgy candlestick pattern on the daily time frame around this region. So we may most likely see something like this before we fall. All right, I'm overall bearish. Just so that we are clear, I'm overall bearish, but I'd like to see price pullback, which is a possibility then before we drop to this green region here. However, if that fails to happen, remember I always have plan A and plan B, right? So if going into Monday, going into next week, I see a daily candlestick close below this green zone, which should be around the 1.07846 region. If I see a daily candlestick close below it, then I won't be anticipating that pullback to this gray zone anymore. So what I'll do is I'll go to the lower time frames. If I see a daily candlestick close below this green line here, then I'll go to the lower time frames and wait for a retest of that zone so that I can now sell. Now if that happens, if I can catch a sell at that zone, this green zone, then my target will be, let me put a line there, my target will be 1.07106. That's my sell side target. But overall on euro dollar, I am bearish. Now the next on my list is GBP USD. Now GBP USD is still looking confused. All right, if you look at the daily time frame, guys, the whole of last week is represented by these daily candles here. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. We have 5 active trading days in a week. Now you can see that throughout last week, price basically just moved sideways. Now my analysis still remains the same as last week. If you didn't watch the video, go watch the last week's video on my analysis, right, on GBP USD. So I'll still be waiting for price to break out of this green zone properly, which is around 1.25910. So break out of that green zone and this trend line below on this daily time frame. So I'd like to see price break below it, go back to that green zone for a retest, which is go back to that 1.25910 area for a retest. Then I'll swing over to the lower time frame, catch a good entry with a tight stop loss, and then my next target will be 1.23305. all right, so overall on GBP USD, I am bearish. So if price goes bullish, best believe that is not what I am actually anticipating. So we may realign next week. All right, anyways, I don't trade GBP USD, so I only trade Euro USD. So I care less about what happens on GBP USD, but for the purpose of this analysis, I am overall bearish, and this is what I'd like to see on GBP USD play out. The last on my list for this week will be USD JPY. Now USD JPY last week I gave 2 scenarios. Price is obviously trading at a strong resistance level. If you look left, look at this strong resistance to the downside. So another strong test of that zone, saw the massive rejection to the downside. That is why I'm anticipating a sell-off from here. All right, but what if that sell-off doesn't play out? What if US dollar is strong going into next week? Then I'd like to see my plan B, which is a breakout of this multiple touches at this resistance. So I'd like to see a breakout, creating a new higher high, a retest. Then when this retest happens, I'll go to a lower time frame, look for my entry, my execution strategy to play out. Then I'll execute, and I'll be targeting 800 pip move to the upside. However, if that resistance holds, because this resistance is coming from the higher time frame, I mean, even if I go to the monthly time frame, you will see that price has struggled since October 2022 to break above this price region here. So that is why, back to the daily time frame, that zone is an interesting zone. All right, so strong resistance zone from the higher time frame. You don't want to overlook it, but we still don't need to just get carried away, right? So what if that doesn't play out and price continues higher? Because at some point price is going to break above that region, right? So if now is the time that happens, then I would like to see a higher high created, then a retest of that zone, then an 800 pip move to the upside. Well, why is that my target? I already talked about that in last week's video, so you could go rewatch that video as to why I am targeting that zone. But if price is to continue lower, I have a circuit breaker here that is going to protect me from irrational decisions. So I have this point here plotted out. So I'd like to see price continue lower, create a new lower low, breaking below this obvious swing point here, then go back to that obvious swing point for a retest, and that's where I'll go to the 15 minutes time frame to catch an earlier entry with a tighter stop loss. Then this trend line that is coming, that I plotted on the 4-hour time frame, connecting this point and this point, will be where I'll be taking partials. All right, I'll take partials from there, maybe 50% of my trade. I'll take it out, then break even, so that if price respects this trend line and stops me out, at least I took something out of the market. All right. So if price breaks below the trend line, then my remaining 50% that is open, I'd like to take overall profit at 146.525 area. All right. So guys, that will be all for this week. If you want to learn how to do this yourself, you want to learn how to execute trade, how to maintain proper psychology during trades, then we still have space left in our academy, let's trade 10x.com. This is the link on your screen, and the link is also in the description down below. Do yourself a favor, grab any of our mentorship programs and take your trading game to the next level. So guys, if you made it this far, you're yet to subscribe, please do so now. Like this video, also share with like minds, and I wish you a successful trading week, and I'll see you in the next week. Bye guys.